The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
You don't need to live with aches and pains. Visit ReliefFactor.com today.
You are about to hear the most interesting, informative, thought-provoking, and funny show in America. On air and on the World Wide Web. This is the Rob Carson Show.
Well, happy Friday. Friday. We made it. Welcome to the Friday edition of the Rob Carson Show. I'm Mary Walter, and for Rob, he is back with you on Monday. At least I think he is. If he's not, then someone else is here because it's not me. I don't know who it is, but I'm pretty sure Rob is back on Monday after a well-deserved vacation. So just be ready. He is going to be at 11 all day on Monday because I'm sure he has had a ton of adventures that he wants to tell you about. So that'll be happening on Monday, but happening today. Ken, thank you so much. Got me some great guests. Of course, Tony Kinnett is here coming up later this hour. And we have and Tony is going to be joining us talking about news of the day. We've got a couple stories to deal with him. There's so much news going on. Next hour, sitting where I usually am with Rob on Fridays, is Hillary Fordich. Hillary is great. Love her. We're going to talk about what's happening in the UK. There was some meetings between the US and the UK to talk about some things since they're having a lot of problems over there. So we'll talk about that special relationship. And in the last hour, of course, it's Christian Toto joining us. There is a new movie coming out from the Daily Wire that's a little shocking. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Perez Hilton, and we are going to talk about The View. Back in the news is The View. So if you want to join me, I'd love to have you. 800-922-6680. 800-922-6680 is my number. Love to talk to you if you want to jump in here. We have a pretty jam show, but I am going to try to get some topics with some calls in here. And you can also reach out to me on X at Mary Walter Radio. There's no S. Don't forget to check out the podcast. The video is available on YouTube and Rumble and Getter. Just look for Mary Walter Radio. And the audio is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker. Again, just look for Mary Walter Radio with no S. All right, let's jump into it, shall we? First of all, Senator Mitch McConnell, despite reports and ponderings to the contrary, he is alive and well, and he is announced that he has been discharged from the rehab facility. Nobody's seen him yet. That's all I'm going to say. Nobody has seen proof of life, but a statement was put out from Mitch McConnell, and he said it earlier today. I was discharged from the rehabilitation center. This was yesterday, to continue my recovery at home. On the advice of my doctors, I'll maintain an intensive regimen of physical therapy from home during the state work period, and I'll continue to engage with my staff and colleagues on an important Senate business. His office has released 2 photos of him since his hospitalization, but as I said, he has not been seen in public. He has not been seen on Capitol Hill since June 11th. So he's not voting, which really hurts the Republicans on some ways because that means one more vote that they have to get on their side. They don't have any kind of buffer. He intends to finish his term, which expires in January. He does not intend to seek re-election, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing, Mr. McConnell. You probably shouldn't be there now. He probably should have left and allowed them to appoint someone, and that would have been that. Unless they needed a special election, but whatever. The Senate is, as we talked about yesterday, is going to recess until mid-September. They get 5 weeks off after today. 5 weeks the Senate is off. Now, some of them say we are going to stay in Washington, D.C., and we're going to continue to work. But John Thune refuses to cancel recess or at least cut it in half or something along those lines. He won't do it. And one of you had a really brilliant idea. And by the way, I used it on Newsmax this morning. I was on Wake Up America, so I used it there. And we were talking about this, about Congress going on like these ridiculously long vacations and really working half of the year, if that. And I said, well, I was talking about this yesterday on the air, and a listener called in. So, and I don't know, I didn't get your names because it was just, you didn't come on the air with me. You just gave your comment to Brian and talked about paying them hourly. And I actually think it's a really good idea. I think it's brilliant. So whoever you are who called in, brilliant. I think you did a phenomenal job with it. And I thought that was just a wonderful idea. So Let's pay him hourly. Anyway, so he is going to finish his term. Senate's out till mid-September, and he won't be seen in the Capitol until then. Apparently, that's what's going to happen. I feel bad though. I wonder if the people of Kentucky feel like they're being represented though, because he's not voting on anything. There should be some way that we have the ability to, and I have seen for some of the committees where they vote for someone else, voting yay by proxy. You can vote by proxy. Maybe that's what he's doing, but I don't know. I feel for people when they get sick, and if they want to continue working, I get it. But by the same token, and I know that he's due his privacy like anybody else, but because he's a citizen too, he's just a person. That's very true, but he also has special privileges that regular people don't have either. So I kind of feel like, I don't know. Do you want to be special, have special privileges, and be above the rest of us? Or do you want to be like the rest of us? Because if you're like the rest of us, you wouldn't be getting all this time off with not being seen. And, I just don't think that would happen in normal work environment. Maybe it would, but I still don't think this is all right. I still think that there's something hinky about this whole thing. That's just me. And I may be 100% wrong. And his wife went to China for a week or so right after he was in the hospital. I don't know if I would do that. I mean, but if I were in the hospital like that and I was okay, my husband had to go for business, I'd be like, oh, go, go, don't miss your trip, have fun, have fun, I'll be fine. But he was in the hospital for over a month. He was in the hospital for like 6 weeks. So, I don't know. That doesn't sound like everything's fine. All right. So there's that. Let's go to another story that was in the news, and it kind of died out, as many of these do. And we talked about this yesterday about all the attempted attacks on President Trump, the attempted assassination, etc. All of these attempted attacks and acts of violence on President Trump. And a lot of them I had not heard of. And I think you had not heard of some of them too, because they don't really get a lot of play. And then they're in the news and they're gone. They're in the news and gone. Like the guy who they got at Trump's Southern California Golf Club. Remember, he was going to be there later that day or the next day. And he was doing some event there, and they caught this guy who they thought was acting suspiciously. Listen to who this guy is. Now, first of all, his name is Janine, Jeanine. Janine John Tale. He's 38 years old, and maybe this is like a boy named Sue, and he's just really angry. And he was allegedly seen wearing an earpiece and photographing Secret Service during a previous visit to the course on July 31st. So investigators arrested this guy, and he falsely claimed that he worked for the State Department and was assigned to a security detail when he was approached. And they're like, And the other guys are like, no, we don't know who this is. So they investigated, they arrested him. They find 7 notebooks filled with detailed surveillance logs during a search of his home after his arrest. The search also turned up an illegally modified AR-style rifle and a gold badge that read Fugitive Recovery Bail Enforcement. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley told the Post, anyone with that amount of firepower around the president poses a serious threat. He had the means to carry out something very serious, but thanks to the quick work of law enforcement, he never had that opportunity. He, as I said, falsely represented himself as an employee of the State Department. He claimed to be conducting surveillance. And he continued and said, we recovered 7 journals containing surveillance logs. This is not normal behavior. Now, this guy served in the Marine Corps from 2008 until 2016. He reached the rank of corporal. He was assigned as a warehouse clerk with the 1st Reconnaissance Battalion at Camp Pendleton. He deployed to Iraq from October of 2008 through March of 2009. He later served again in Afghanistan from June through December of 2010. He earned 2 Marine Corps Good Conduct Medals. He, along with a Navy unit commendation recognizing exceptional performance. He received the National Defense Service Medal for serving during the post-11 Global War on Terror, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, the Iraq Campaign Medal, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, 2 Sea Service Deployment ribbons, recognizing his overseas assignments, and the NATO International Security Assistance Force Medal for working in Afghanistan. Okay. So he's decorated. He does. I don't see anything. He got something for good behavior. Going above and beyond, whatever. Deputies responded to the scene, and they discovered that he was wanted in an unrelated robbery case out of El Segundo when they first made contact with him at the club on Sunday, and that's when they recovered a loaded 9mm pistol with hollow point ammunition, binoculars, and a badge that read Security Protection Agent. So he had a couple of fake badges saying different things. And the search of his home, as I said, uncovered an illegally modified AR platform rifle, additional firearms, body armor, high-capacity magazines, communications equipment, and notebooks containing concerning statements. He was charged in a federal criminal complaint with possessing an unregistered short-barrel rifle, a felony carrying a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. And he now also faces state firearm charges in LA, in addition to the pending federal case. But I find it so interesting because these things don't really make the news. Like, what's up with the guy at the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Like, have we heard anything about that? If this had been, if all of these attempts had been on Obama or Biden, I guarantee you it would be wall-to-wall coverage. You see pictures of the guy walking from point A to point B. You would know everything about these guys. You would know everything about this case. They would be blowing it up like, oh my gosh, because what's the highest level you can achieve on the left is victimhood. And someone threatening your life, that's the ultimate in victimhood, right? Or actually being shot at, that's the ultimate in victimhood. So they can't give that to Donald Trump. He can't be seen as a survivor. He can't be seen as a victim because who's he a victim of? Their side. So, I don't know. Maybe this guy leans right. Who knows? Maybe he's upset that, we're involved in Iran. And so, he's Trump, he's MAGA, and he's upset about Iran. We don't know. But because we don't know and that we don't know anything about the writings, nothing has leaked out, that says to me that this guy is on the left. I'm that cynical. All right. If you want to comment, 800-922-6680. You can tag me in a post on X at Mary Walter Radio. We'll be back with more of The Rob Carson Show. I'm sorry? Okay.
The Rob Carson Show podcast is everywhere. Go to newsmax.com/listen for details.
All right, welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. Happy Friday to everyone. I'm Mary Walter in for Rob. 800-922-6680 is my number. Rob is back with you on Monday. So I'm glad to be here. Coming up, Tony Kinnett will be joining us. We'll talk about what's happening in the world and in this country. Got a couple things to hit him up with. You can find him at the Tonus, TONUS, over on X. So the U.S. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Harmeet Dillon, yesterday announced that Duke University Law School's in some trouble. It seems they're discriminating. For the incoming classes of 23, 24, and 25, Duke University Law's applications ask candidates how they would further the school's mission to equal justice, public service, and a diversity of perspectives and experiences. And reviewers in the school's admissions office were asked to place diversity/services tags on applications containing information commonly correlated with race, like being a Pell Grant recipient, this according to a statement yesterday. Investigators with the agency found that the essay questions and application fields where candidates would know Pell Grants were used as proxies for identifying minority candidates. They also found that the median LSAT scores of rejected white and Asian applicants exceeded the median LSAT scores of admitted Black applicants. Discrimination based on race in higher education admissions is prohibited under federal civil rights laws. Just has never been enforced under the banner of DEI. Duke Law School doesn't get a free pass to discriminate against white and Asian students simply because it thinks it has good intentions, Dillon said in a statement. Using diversity essay questions to identify preferred races for admission is still illegal discrimination based on race, and this department is committed to eliminating it everywhere we find it, including in our nation's schools. In a letter yesterday to the school's legal counsel, Dillon said a review of internal communications in Duke Law's admissions office reveals a pattern of discrimination dating back 5 years. She noted that a Duke Law report from the 21-22 academic year stated the goals of increasing the next incoming class to 43% students of color, up from the previous 4-year average of 34%. Moreover, the school issued guidance after the 2023 Supreme Court decision telling admissions office employees that Duke Law may consider applicants discussion of how race affected their life, be it through discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise. So what they're trying to do is they were trying to get around the enforcement of, no DEI. And here's the thing, the same people who are for all of this would have a fit if you took their favorite athletic team and said, well, there aren't enough Asians on this team. Sorry guys, but we need more Asians, or we need more Hispanics in ice hockey, or whatever it happens to be. They only like it applied one way. And if people aren't getting high enough scores, don't you want like medical school? Like, I want the best person to be my doctor. I don't care what that person looks like. I don't care if it's male or female. I don't care if they're socially awkward. It doesn't matter to me. Although I will say for surgeons, I gotta like them because they're going to cut me open. So I have to for whatever reason with me, when it comes to surgeons, I have to like them. If I don't like you and I think you've got a bad attitude or whatever, I don't know if I necessarily want you operating on me, but that's just me. I digress. But for the most part, if you tell me this is the best person to do whatever, to fix your knee or your heart, or whatever, I'm like, okay. And I don't care what color that person is. Diversity has no business in any of this, in my humble opinion. I also don't think it has any business in things like sports either. You should pick the most qualified person, period, end of story. But I'm a dreamer. All right. A lot of people talking about affordability. That's the big thing, because a burrito at Chipotle is $20. And I've seen so many people post like I bought this food for my family to make burritos, and it was $18 and some odd cents, and it was fed a family of four, so you can make it at home. It's just that when you're paying outside, you're paying for someone else to chop up the lettuce and chop up the tomatoes and the olives and the this and the that and put it together for you. So yes, it's going to cost more money, but you can make a burrito at home. You just have to do the work yourself. That's how it works. Was takeout food cheaper back in the day? Yeah, it was, but everything was cheaper back in the day, but we also made less money back in the day too. So, there's corresponding things there. So Scott Bessent, who's the Treasury Secretary, he said yesterday that wages are up for Americans nationwide, but particularly for Main Street workers who have seen a 5.5% year-over-year boost as of the last quarter. And I don't know whether because the news is not covering this. Again, if this happened under Biden, everybody like, oh my gosh, happy days are here again. But because it's Trump, no one's covering it. Or people just aren't feeling it. They're not noticing it. I don't know. He said on X that the truth is wages are up for Americans across the distribution. But importantly, earnings growth for Main Street workers are at the 25th earnings percentile, was 5.5% year over year. In the latest data this past quarter, more than 3 times the growth experienced by workers at the 75th percentile. Median weekly earnings also rose a robust 4.6%, well outpacing inflation. And he added, the fact is lower wage workers are leading, median workers are gaining, and the pundit-driven K-shaped economy narrative does not hold up. You'll see that K-shaped economy thing all over social media. Chart from BLS also showed that weekly earnings for workers in the top 75th percentile saw a boost of only 1.5%. So there you go. Coming up, Tony Kinnett will be joining us here. Lot to talk to Tony about. That is next on the Rob Carson Show.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
This isn't the end of a fight. It's the start of one. Lioness, the critically acclaimed original series from Taylor Sheridan, returns August 2nd only on Paramount Plus. It's the new season. Hidden networks, foreign operatives, and personal betrayals collide while Joe walks the line between duty and family. Don't miss Lioness, starring Zoe Saldana, Michael Kelly, with Morgan Freeman and Nicole Kidman. Now streaming on Paramount Plus. Hey guys, it's Carson. You know, when it comes to supplements, 2 things matter most. A, that it works, and B, that you can trust it. We hear from people every single day whose lives have changed, including mine, and we'd like you to hear a few of their stories. Chris has spent years of doing physical work, leaving his feet sore at the end of the day. After starting Relief Factor, he felt so good, he did something he'd never done before. He ran a half marathon. Now he tells all his friends about Relief Factor. I can still move furniture, I can still ride my mountain bike, I can still lift heavy weights, and Relief Factor makes all of those tasks pain-free for me. 3 weeks for just $17.76. Simply go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. We hope you'll soon be sharing your story with us too. Again, ReliefFactor.com or 800-4RELIEF.
When let us sit aside, cause it's quite an attack, cyclosporin. When raspberries you eat keeps you on the throne seat, cyclosporin. Stomach churns and you'll feel some burns as the parasite starts to infect you. To the drugstore you go, pick up some Pepto that you know won't protect you or affect you. Taco that you consumed, it was safe, you assumed cyclosporin. The feeling you get that you'd like to forget you're in pain. When it's clear you are one suffering senorita. Excuse me, can't you see no more salads for me? Cyclosporin. Cyclosporin.
Oh, that music can mean one thing only. We welcome Tony Kinnett, investigative columnist at the Daily Signal, also the host of the Kinnett Cast. Tony Kinnett, you can find him on X at the Tonus, Tonus. Hey, my friend, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a fine Friday. Just a nice, beautiful day of rain here in the Midwest. Hopefully, it's a little bit nicer out east.
It's hot, but it's not terribly hot. It depends on where you are. You know, cities are going to be hotter. You're at the coast, it's cooler. So, but it's beautiful out. So I'm with you. And you know what? We're all on the right side of the grass. And at this point in life, that's pretty much where the bar is for me.
That's very true. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to talk a little bit. We're going to get into this more here on the show, but President Trump targeting birthright tourism, and it's so disgusting, this whole thing. I noticed, I'm sure you saw it as well on social media, in Mexico and other southern countries. There are American companies that are offering to help you have your baby in the United States, because that's not illegal, right? It's not illegal now, and we're waiting for Congress to do something. We
Edgar Allan Poe. Never had it seen. Nature. CBM, which digital ads and social media. The Democrats have dwindled down Republican representation time and time again. It used to be 4-4. You used to have 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats representing the state of Maryland on Capitol Hill. They already have 7 out of the 8 congressional seats. They need all 8. Where are the No Kings protesters?
The Kim Klacik Show, 9 to noon on Talk Radio 680 WCBM.
We are back on the Rob Carson Show. Tony Kinnett, my guest on the Newsmax hotline. Tony, quickly, we have Mitch McConnell's back. Nobody has seen him yet. And he's going to finish out his term. So he's not going to be back probably in D.C. until mid-September because, they got to take 5 weeks off because they work so hard. Do we think we're ever going to see him back? I don't know what's going on here. No one's seen him. I don't get it.
So look, since the Daily Beast called me MAGA star, top pundit Tony Kinnett calling for the release of a video, I have a very simple thing here. So first of all, whenever you have senators who are able to run out the clock on retirement, this is why I think the 17th Amendment needs to be abolished, and that we should go back to having election of senators directly by state legislatures, so that if you have a senator who sucks, you can repeal them. You don't have to have some old guy running out the clock until the end of time. That would be number one. Number two, all you got to do is release a little video and go, "Hi, I'm Mitch McConnell and I'm fine. And also I'm eating at Hardee's." I would be down for that. Because I too eat at Hardee's. And so I would identify. But honestly, I don't know. Whether he's alive or dead, doesn't matter. He's not going to vote on anything super duper important between now and the election anyway.
Right. Well, but let me ask you, is he voting by proxy? Do we know?
I know that there was one case in which he voted by proxy, 2 cases in which he did not vote and was counted absent. I don't know about the full record, though. I can't answer that.
Okay. I was just curious how that is. All right. One last thing that I want to talk about that I didn't tell you about is yesterday was National Root Beer Float Day. And I'm curious if you are a root beer float kind of guy.
Only in one place in the world, as bizarre as this will sound, only from the A&W restaurant in Iron Mountain in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. That is the best A&W I've ever been to, and they make the root beer in-house. And They also get the ice cream from a place down the street. and it makes amazing root beer float. So that's like the only time that I'm ever totally in the mood for a root beer float.
Okay, so I bring this up because, as I said, yesterday was National Root Beer Float Day. I'm not a root beer. I love root beer, but I'm not a root beer float kind of girl. Like, I'm like, I could take it or leave it. Like
you can do the dirty sodas that the Mormons are in love with.
Well, the dirty sodas have like
your soda?
They have like 10,000 calories. Those things.
Oh, you're a calorie counter. Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah, exactly. I just could not drink them on the regular, whereas I could have some diet root beer regularly. My favorite is Stewart's, which it must be an East Coast thing because we don't have A&W. We have A&W root beer in the store, but we don't have A&W restaurants here. So I wonder if you ever had Stewart's there. They were the drive-up ones, where they come and put the tray on your window, and they made really, really, really good root beer, and they were really good hot dogs. So that's what they were known for.
I can't let this go for a second. As a Midwesterner, again, who just talked about Hardee's and A&W in the same segment, and so I'm gaining weight just by speaking about these things. Life is too short to count the calories. Have 8 root beer floats, Mary. I've seen you. You look fantastic. Don't listen to the people living sad and counting calories like on an abacus. Live free. Come out to the Midwest. We'll get you some biscuits and gravy. We'll make you the happiest camper this side of Yosemite. You'll love it.
Well, where I live, I tend to fill up on bagels and really good Italian food. So, I still get that.
All right, I'll allow it.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, they're trying to figure out, first of all, early root beer was typically made from steeping sassafras root bark with other herbs and barks, but apparently it was called beer because it was slightly alcoholic at the time with generally 2% of alcohol, 1 to 2% or less. So that's why it's called beer. That's why it's called beer.
Like, seriously, like I've had some of like their original concoction stuff that they do for like some of the tourist stuff down in like near the caves in Kentucky. It's awful. It's like, man, that's the power of Pine Sol, baby. As soon as you finish drinking it, it's like, oh, man, I'm glad they've changed it over the years.
Yes, they have changed it. One legend of the origin of the root beer float is that a man named Frank Wisner in Cripple Creek, Colorado, was inspired to invent it in 1893. He was gazing out at Cow Mountain. Its snow-covered peak above darkened slopes inspired him, and he dropped a scoop of vanilla ice cream into a mug of root beer, inventing the root beer float, and he used to call it a black cow. I've heard of that, but I've heard it called a black cow before. My grandfather used to call it a black cow.
There's no way that story's real. That is the most made up thing I've ever. I mean, I like the name. I like the name. The black cow is kind of cool, but like, he was staring at a mountain one day and thought, oh, that reminds me of ice cream. Like, get out of here. Come on now. The man was just like, I've got this ice cream here and I've got this root beer. Hey, wait a second. And then, like, I think sometimes you hear this in like the tech sector. They're like, one day I was staring at the horizon and I thought, what if my phone could connect to my refrigerator? And I'm like, you guys, stop it. Stop with these stories.
Well, apparently, the accepted version is that it was invented by A&W in 1919, or some, at a roadside stand in Lodi, California. They say that region gets blazingly hot in the summer, and the theory is that someone decided to add ice cream to A&W's root beer to make it even colder. So that's what they theorize. Yep.
I'm calling it. That makes sense because that's how we think.
Yes.
There you go. And you get like a capitalist boost off of it. Not, he was staring at the mountains like one so looking upon the face of God. Like, stop that.
Well,
A&W's like, this could be colder.
Not to add on a sad note, but root beer is falling out of fashion. Younger generations prefer fizzy flavored waters, kombucha, energy drinks, sodas in general have fallen out of favor. But a YouGov survey found that Barks root beer is the 12th most popular popular among millennials, among baby boomers. A&W is the 4th most popular. So,
in the Midwestern, we got Spreckers, and Spreckers is delightful, and they have a low calorie root beer that is my personal favorite. I know I just went on that whole spiel about calories. I have some in the fridge right now, and I'm going to go have a bottle.
There you go. We have a bottle of local made root beer, but we got it at a wedding, and then we're going to go try that. I haven't had that yet, but we'll have that. I do like a good root beer. So Tony Kinnett, thank you for joining me. You have a wonderful weekend, and you enjoy your low cal root beer.
Mary, you're just a delight always. You should guest for Rob more often.
Oh, you are so sweet. I bet you say that to all the girls. Have a great weekend, friend, and God bless. Take care. I'm Mary Walter. More coming up on The Rob Carson Show.
Listen, were you forced into getting a soul?
And said he told Outkick, if they contact me, I won't say no, but you have to be realistic. I'm old, and there are far better players than me. And he said, obviously, it's a childhood dream, just like for any female basketball player, but unfortunately, it's not possible. And you gotta check this guy out, because I'm sorry, he's a dude. Just because he puts on a skirt and calls himself Julie doesn't make him a Julie. Just doesn't make him a chick. I'm sorry. Science has prevailed with this guy. In the 2025-26 season, he led in both scoring and rebounding. And if you watch any videos of him playing, he's a dude. I'm Mary Walter. Don't go anywhere. We got more coming up on The Rob Carson Show.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
it now.
Live from Newsmax Studios in Washington, D.C., the most interesting, informative, and funny show in America, on air and on the World Wide Web. This is the Rob Carson Show.
And welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. Joining us in half an hour, Hillary Fordich will be joining us. We're going to talk about things that are happening in the UK, obviously, but also a meeting that happened here in the U.S., and we'll get some more information and insight from her. We touched on the whole birthright citizenship with Tony. I just wanted to play some audio from you, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to comment. 800-922-6680. Unlike Tony, I just, hopefully these executive orders are crafted in such a way that would allow these to be enforced, because I think it is really necessary. I do not have any hope that Congress is ever going to get off its butt and do a darn thing. You can disagree with me, but I do think that that's pretty much the way it's going to go, that Congress is just going to sit back and let nothing happen. Democrats don't want this. Democrats want to just flood the zone with illegals. And I think that, Republicans just don't have any desire to do anything. I just don't think they do. I think they're super happy with the status quo. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. So, all right, let's start with Trump making some comments before signing these bills in the Oval Office. Cut one.
We had a very unfortunate decision in the Supreme Court concerning birthright. It was close, but a very, very unfortunate decision. So we're making adjustments because it's very unfair. This was done for a different reason. This was done right after the Civil War. This was for the babies of slaves. And what's happening now, people are building businesses around it. From wealthy people are building businesses around birthright citizenship. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's a disgrace. They're buying their way in, and we're not going to let it happen.
Yeah, literally. I mean, Democrats would love to give away citizenship for free. Just give it away to anybody who wants to come here. Anybody in all comers, come on in. We'll give you citizenship for free. Please vote for us in our elections. And they just want to flood the zone. And that's what they want to do. But Republicans, I'm sure, are pretty happy to sell citizenship. If they can make a dime off of it, I think there are some Republicans who would be more than happy to sell it. But we know that there are people, and they're not breaking the law. The Supreme Court said that, the 14th Amendment is as it is interpreted, not the way it's interpreted now, not the way it was originally written. Even the guy who wrote it said it was for the children of the slaves, but they didn't spell it out enough in the Constitution. And Congress, like I said, has had actually centuries to change it. Well, centuries, I think. Anyway, they have done nothing. So now Stephen Miller is explaining the two bills, just so you understand exactly what they're talking about.
Mentioned, the 14th Amendment was passed exclusively in the aftermath of the Civil War so to ensure that the children of slaves would be citizens. It had no other meaning and purpose outside of that. And that's been clear, obviously, since the day that it was passed. You can go back, you can read the congressional debates. This is not something that's even seriously contested by anybody. The president is using his authority as commander-in-chief to sign first an executive order using the new ruling the Supreme Court issued to expand the definitions of people who are ineligible for birthright citizenship. That includes, for example, alien enemies of the United States, members of foreign terrorist organizations, and large categories of people who lobby and act on behalf of foreign governments. And so with taking this action, it ensures that large numbers of people who wrongly would be getting birthright citizenship will no longer be eligible for those benefits. The second action that he's taking, which is especially historic, is for the first time ever in American history to ban birth tourism. So I want you to really let that sink in. This has been something that people have talked about not only for years, but for decades. The idea that people come here pretending to be a tourist, pretending to be a visitor, saying they want to go to Disneyland, they want to go visit a monument or go to a national park. But the real reason they're here is to have a child, to make that child an automatic citizen, leave our country, and then have a U.S. citizen child. It gives them access under this broken system to welfare benefits, ultimately to the voting booth, and all the other rights and privileges that belong solely to Americans. So that practice of birth tourism is, as of the signing of this order, hereby banned.
All right. One thing I do like is trying to, because again, the way the left wants this read is, and we'll take all comers, but children of individuals designated as alien enemies, including members of organizations that the federal government has designated as terrorist groups. Yes, we should not allow people who want to take us down come here. This is why this Chinese birth tourism is going to bite us in the butt not too far down the road. You've got an entire generation of kids growing up in China right now who will be of voting age soon enough before you realize it. And you cannot be surprised when they come here, they move here, and then they start voting here. And they're going to vote the way the Chinese government tells them to vote. Do you honestly think their parents were allowed to come here and had that kind of money to pay to come here, to stay in one of the hotels that the Chinese run in Hawaii and in California? And the Chinese government's cool with that. Yeah, it's no problem. You want to escape you want to escape China? Sure, go have your baby in the United States, and then they can sponsor you and everything. They're using our laws to cut our throats, and we're going to pay for it as well. That's exactly what's happening. The Chinese population alone that has been born here, it may not be a lot now, but it's going to keep going and going and going. And if you don't think that they answer to the Chinese government, you're crazy. And that's the part of this. That's the problem, because it says is not, the 14th Amendment says that they are not subject to a foreign, I think I want to say potentate, but basically a foreign government, not subjects of a foreign government. But the Chinese are subjects of a foreign government. They could sit here and say, oh no, I was born in America. But yeah, you think that they're not reporting back to China? Of course they are. Of course they are. It's how their parents got here. Their parents were used purposely. Lastly, Trump's comments after signing the bill on birthright citizenship.
But they've taken birthright citizenship and they've made a joke out of it. And we're actually the only country of size, I think just about the only country, period, that does birthright citizenship. I thought we were going to win it at the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, we had a bad decision, very unfair decision. Our country suffers because of it, and we're ending it a different way.
Yes, it says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. So when you come here and you're not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, how many grown adults do we have in this country that came from other countries who are campaigning for office who talk about how much they hate this country? Are they subject to the jurisdiction of America? Yes, technically, but they hate us. And they're here to destroy us. It also says, okay, I'm not going to get into that. Supreme Court knows far more about that than I do, and that's how they chose to rule when it comes down to it. I also want to get into, so you have on the left, and Tony hit on this as well, the breakdown of the demographic of El Said's voters. And if you want to jump in, 800-922-6680, feel free to do so. You are welcome to do that or tag me in a post on X. And I have got a lot of notifications on X, but I will try to get to all of them as we go through here. But it's hard for me to multitask that. Anyway, so El Said's voters, he's a former state public health official, and they call him doctor. Yes, he passed, but he went through medical school, and he passed. He never did any training, though, required to become a doctor. He never practiced as a doctor. But then again, Dr. Jill Biden has a degree, is a doctor in English literature. And it's so funny because we throw that term around a lot, but my husband's an MD. And practices and has been working, forever as a doctor. But we get invitations to stuff and it just says Mr. Nobody uses the moniker doctor anymore. Like he never gets anything with that in front of his name. But yet Dr. Jill Biden insists on being called doctor. And El Said, well, he's a doctor. It's pretty funny when it is used and when it is not used. Anyway, the honorific of doctor. He won by less than a percentage point. Now, Washington Post did an analysis of the voting data to find out who voted for El Said and who voted for Stevens, for Haley Stevens. And they found that Said won with support from young voters, of course, the under 30 crowd, by 24 points in counties with at least 30% of young adults. Stevens led counties where young adults made up 1/5 or less of the population. So clearly, El Said's with the young communists, the young impressionables who have no clue what the world is like because they're still wet behind the ears. And Stevens won with the older people for whom socialism's a bad word, but communism's like a no-go. In counties where Black people made up at least 15% of the population, Stevens led El Said by 8 points. Black voters in Detroit have historically been pivotal for Democrats to win statewide, pointing to potential vulnerability for the party ahead of the general election. Counties where at least 40% of the population earned a college degree, they backed far-left El Said by 10 points. After the race was called, though, he changed his message. Did you notice that? He changed his message. He was one way to get elected, and then as soon as the race was called, boom, he switches. And he started painting Mike Rogers as a warmonger and a MAGA loyalist. But the Washington Post analysis says recent polling of the general election has added to the sense of uneasiness over the rough road ahead for El Said. While Stevens was neck and neck in a hypothetical matchup against Rogers in November, El Said was trailing Rogers in some surveys. Polling has varied and has proved unreliable in primaries. Yes, that's very, very true. So I want to go to cut 4 here, because this is another candidate. This is the socialist communist gubernatorial candidate for out of Wisconsin, Francesca Hung. And we've heard a lot about this one. She's a chef. And she said in the past that she doesn't like Thanksgiving, and she was taken to the mat on that. And so she said, no. Now all of a sudden she finally came out and finally said, yes, what's your favorite holiday? Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday. So they're going to say whatever they need to say. We understand that. Well, here she is, because she was asked about, because she apparently also wants to cancel Christmas. So Thanksgiving and Christmas, she wants to get rid of. She basically wants to get rid of, after you listen to this, I think anything that Americans love, anything celebratory around holidays, etc., she wants to get rid of. Listen to this. This is another holiday she's not fond of.
You have against Halloween?
I just don't. It's kind of, I don't have anything against it. I just don't feel the need to have to participate, and it's fine for kids. This is not a I dislike. I'm not a super fun person.
Yeah, boy, I thought communism was supposed to be awesome. Apparently, they're just not super fun people. All right, coming up, Stephen, Arnie, hang on. I will get your calls coming up here on The Rob Carson Show.
So you preferred your pronouns to be they and them. They, them. Okay. So, do you need me to explain how to use that? Nope, because I'm not going to.
That's great. I'm Mary Waldron for Rob Carson. Coming up, Hillary Fordich will be joining us here in just about 15 minutes. Let's go to some of the comments over on X. Sal says, the CCP monitors Chinese who emigrate to America, and many are given instructions on what to do. Failure to obey means relatives back in China get arrested until compliance is met. That's very true. And we found Chinese police stations set up in American cities where they monitor the people that they sent here. A lot of them who came over the border, all those Chinese aged military aged men who came over, they know. So that's what's happening. They're absolutely monitoring them. So that's why this whole birthright citizenship thing has to stop. We were also talking earlier about DEI. We talked about it with a trans basketball player in Morocco who, I swear, look up the picture, is a dude. It's the muscles are insane on this guy. There's no way that's a woman. I'm sorry. No woman is built that way. And it's just not. So other things too, probably, that makes it not a woman. But also Duke University Law School being caught using DEI in admissions. And Harmeet Dillon released a report yesterday that says there's now launching an investigation because it is illegal to implement those qualifications. And they admitted to the school. The Asian and white kids who were not admitted had higher LSAT scores than Black applicants who were admitted. So I don't know about you, but I want my lawyer to be super competent. Stephen in Santa Cruz talking about that DEI. You're on the Rob Carson Show. Happy Friday, Stephen.
Mary, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you rock.
Thank you.
Listen, if there's time, I'll tell you something funny. But there's something that bothers me. I'm having trouble adjusting to it, and that is that my town here in Santa Cruz, California, is changing gradually, but not so gradually, in a way that makes me feel like I'm living in a different country.
Yeah.
It got criticisms in the college paper in the 80s for being too white. I remember articles about that. Now, when I ride my bicycle around through my neighborhood in downtown, not so much downtown, but just around the surface streets, the suburban landscape, I don't see any English-speaking families walking around with their kids anymore. It's all immigrant families. So the color of the landscape of the culture is shifting, and I'm having a little trouble with that. Anything you might say about that?
Well, it's interesting because if you were in a city and you were complaining about gentrification of white people moving in, you'd have movements, you'd be getting all sorts of coverage in the media because how dare white people move into Black and Hispanic neighborhoods? How dare they do that? That's gentrification, and they're pushing the minorities out. But if you, as a white person, say, my neighborhood is changing and people don't even speak my language here anymore, well, then you're racist. And so the double standard, they cow white people aren't allowed to complain at all about things changing in their neighborhoods. But if they move into a neighborhood, then they're wrong for changing it. Do you see what I'm saying? And I don't care. In all honesty, this is hand to God true. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your religion is, as long as you assimilate. That's all I care about. Learn how to speak the language, assimilate to the customs. Towns have different ways of doing things, right? You have to assimilate. If you assimilate and become part of, as opposed to changing where you move to, I'm down with it. I'm fine with it. But when you decide to move into my home and change and demand that I change to accommodate you, that's when I have a problem. And I think that I don't think I see a problem with that.
There's a neighboring town. I'm not going to name it, but it's probably 90% Hispanic. It's a community designed around the farming industry. So there's a lot of laborers out there. And, when you go there, you know that it's predominantly Latino. You expect that. So they have one town to themselves, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And now my town is being transformed, I'd like to see, like you say, some assimilation of language barriers and everything that you just mentioned. It makes sense. But I have to blame the Anglo community also, because we're not having children.
That's true. That's very true. You can't argue with that. You're 100% right. And so if you're not having kids, although, and that's a great question. Why is that happening? So that's a whole nother topic. We're up against the clock here. Thank you so much for joining me, Stephen. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful weekend. And it's weird, like white people even feel like I can't even mention this. Oh my gosh, because I'm going to be seen as racist because I want to cow you into that. I don't want to even observe or make note of what is happening, because that is a racist thing to say. That's not right. All right, Hillary Fornich coming up. She's joining us next here on the Rob Carson Show. Don't go anywhere.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
This isn't the end of a fight. It's the start of one. Lioness, the critically acclaimed original series from Taylor Sheridan, returns August 2nd only on Paramount Plus. It's the new season. Hidden networks, foreign operatives, and personal betrayals collide while Joe walks the line between duty and family. Don't miss Lioness, starring Zoe Saldana, Michael Kelly, with Morgan Freeman and Nicole Kidman. Now streaming on Paramount Plus. Doug took Relief Factor for nearly a year before convincing his wife, a special needs teacher, to try it. She had been using assistance just to move through the long hallway at school. Now she's back on her feet every day. Never had to leave the job she loves. I can attest to this. I ride my mountain bike every weekend from 30 to 50 miles. I lift weights, and I'm lifting heavier than I did when I was 30 without pain. People like Doug make it easy to find out if you'll be the next person telling us Relief Factor gave you what you love. 3 weeks for just $17.76. Simply go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. We hope you'll be sharing your story with us too. ReliefFactor.com or 1-800-4RELIEF.
We need some royal music when Hillary's on. We need like some kind of like Lord Royal when our next guest is on. I'm Mary Walter in for Rob Carson. Rob's back with you on Monday. Joining us now is Hillary Fordich. She is a keynote speaker. You can find her everywhere, and she's a Newsmax contributor. Find her on X at, are you ready? H Fordich, W-I-C-H, Hillary with one L. You got that? I'm Mary. Well, it's just said I'm Mary Walter. Let's go to Hillary Fordich on the Newsmax hotline. Hello, Hillary. Thanks for joining me.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, Mary. Always smashing being on with you, and I hope Rob's having a lovely time wherever he is.
Yeah, I don't know where he is, but I'm sure we'll hear all about it on Monday. He tells us all about his vacations and everything, so we'll hear all about it on Monday. Well, it's good. What a wonderful surprise when I saw that you were booked for this show this afternoon, sitting in my spot, and I said, "Oh, who's in for me?" And I saw it was you, and I said, "This is fantastic," because I also got to know Hillary on the same trip, Newsmax trip that I was on with Tony Kinnett, our last guest.
Right.
Let's although you weren't on the cool bus with me and Tony. That's all I'm going to say.
we had a cool bus too.
Oh, sure you did. So there was a meeting recently to discuss the war in Ukraine and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza with Marco Rubio, and I guess his British counterpart, Ed Miliband, the UK Foreign Secretary. Now, there is apparently some tension automatically because in the past, Miliband, when he was the Foreign Office brief, he was a critic of President Donald Trump as a racist and a misogynist. And there was some concern when the new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, decided to make him the face of the Foreign Office because of those criticisms of President Trump and branding him a racist and a misogynist, which I'm sure he has zero proof of. So he got it anyway. Does that automatically increase the tensions when everybody gets together?
Well, you're absolutely correct about this. And I think probably like Ed Miliband is not a name that's on the tip of the tongue of most Americans.
No.
So everybody needs to know this because it's really important. You're totally correct when you said that in the past, Ed Miliband had referred to President Trump as a racist, a misogynist, and he really had made completely derogatory remarks about him. Now, there was a time in Washington, D.C., where everybody was reading the Washington Post. It was very de rigueur. One of the comments that I heard when I first came to Washington, or at least sayings, was, if you don't want it to appear on the front page of the Washington Post, then don't say it. In other words, be careful what you say. So what is of real concern to me is not only did he badmouth the person that is really one of the most powerful men in the world, but also the most important ally that the UK has ever had, will ever have. Not only did he badmouth him, but that he was stupid enough to badmouth him. Because if you're in political life, unless you're an absolute nitwit, you know that what you say, just like Mary Waters is now quoting it, Hillary Fordrich knows it, and the rest of the world that's in the know knows it. What do you think? Do you think it's going to remain private? So to me, somebody that's that silly and has that poor a judgment shouldn't really be in that role. Having said that, I will say Marco Rubio, who I have the utmost respect for, I respect even more. I give him huge kudos because he is the consummate politician, the consummate gentleman, and he actually played nicey-nicey with Ed Miliband. I think it's in mutual best interest of both the US and the UK to not only retain, but improve and gain more out of our special relationship, because we have never had, as the US, a greater ally than the UK, only until the Labour government has come in and has not been by our side. And don't forget, Americans have done our part to ruin that special relationship. It was President Obama who said, you know, if the UK votes for Brexit, they'll go to the back of the line in terms of any international trade deals behind the EU, which was not very nice to say about your most special ally. And don't forget, of course, President Obama removed the bust of Winston Churchill from the White House. So on both sides of the Atlantic and the pond, as it's referred to, you know, either party in the special relationship at some juncture has done something, like in any relationship, to send it a little bit off keel. But I do think with regard to this recent meeting, both Ed Miliband and Marco Rubio, as I said, we're playing nicey-nicey because I'm delighted to see both are valuing each other. We as Americans must stay close to the UK because of their international basis, because of the foothold it gives us within the European sort of sphere, even though obviously the UK is no longer part of Europe, never was geographically. We need to have the UK as an ally so it's mutually beneficial.
Okay, so there's a lot of things that I think are at play here. When I look at the UK, I see first of all a huge Islamist movement in the UK. I see a freedom of speech being cracked down on. It seems to me as if the UK is just moving in a direction that President Trump, of course, can't stand and is not for at all. So you've got that going on. So the new prime minister, he seems to be pulling back from some of this stuff. I know for his energy policy, Miliband is really into net zero and renewables, which is what sunk Germany's energy policy, right? Germany now is in trouble. And Trump, of course, is a opponent of wind farms. And he thinks that they should open up the North Sea and use oil and fossil fuels there. Does that create more tension?
You're totally in the know with regard to Ed Miliband, yes. So our audience knows he's banged on about global warming and the importance of net zero for years.
Yeah.
So this is what I always say. You know, I respect people who have different either political beliefs than me or, you know, religious beliefs than me or, you know, different views on the world. But my red line, this is Hillary's personal red line, is don't be a bloody hypocrite, okay? So if he really cared about the environment, why did he hop on a plane to come to the United States? Why didn't he do it via Zoom? Or like on the phone, like we're doing right now, right? He could have done it on the phone. So unless he sailed across, which he didn't, unless he rode across here, which he didn't, he could have done it via Zoom. And I always say this actually about Davos, all those global elites getting in their private jets to fly to Davos to talk about their deep concern about the environment. I will believe people who say it matters when they act as if it really matters. And by the way, for people that bang on about global warming, do you know that the next generation, particularly a lot of people in the younger generation, antique shops across America and the UK are going out of business? For centuries, people just handed down furniture. No one is talking about the global footprint of all this IKEA furniture, all this manufactured cheap rubbish stuff that everybody's buying. Nobody talks about the global footprint of that. And by the way, you can drive a Hummer for 6 months for the amount of energy it takes to air condition an American average house for 1 hour in the summer. I don't see Americans turning off their air conditioning. So for everybody that bangs on about global warming and acts like a hypocrite, Ed Miliband is one of them. And President Trump is absolutely right. These silly wind farms, oh, by the way, not only do they kill whales because of this noise that they make, and we've had whales being beached off the coast of Connecticut where we had wind farms here in the United States, but also they're not biodegradable. So they actually ruin the environment. It's kind of like the batteries for electric cars. So to me, it's the hypocrisy that really bothers me. Again, if you care about the environment, and I do all my little bits. I mean, there's certain things I do. I don't waste things. And by the way, I put my air conditioning up because I think that it's ludicrous to spend that kind of money when you don't need to have it like a freezer in your house in the summer. But anyway, I think that Ed Miliband is a hypocrite, and that's the issue I have with him.
Yeah. Well, a lot of they set standards. The left often set standards that are impossible to live by. And so they managed to find a way to have rules for thee, but not for me. And they seem to be quite comfortable with that. All right, we've got more coming up. Don't go anywhere. Our guest, Hillary Fordich, on the Newsmax hotline. More of her next on the Rob Carson Show.
An SEC-registered investment advisory firm.
Got a rejoiner here.
Poor little Democrats. Are you guys okay today? I came in to check on you. Every time Trump does something good, you guys spaz out. Would you guys shut up and let him work?
And welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. I'm Mary Walter, in for Rob, joining us on the Newsmax hotline. It is Hillary Fordich. You can find her on socials at H Fordwich, W-I-C-H, and then the word Hillary, H-I-L-A-R-Y, only one L. My friend, I wanted to also ask you this, just kind of move away from the U.S.-UK relationship for a hot second, because here in the U.S., I thought this was super interesting. For the third time in history, women currently hold more jobs than men. And experts say this disparity could be here to stay. It's not by a lot, but it's 79.64 million jobs held by women as of June of this year compared to 79.34 million. So it's a difference of about 304,000. But in February, women held 96,000 more than men. So it has grown by 208,000 jobs between February and now. And my question is that could that be just because there's more women in the United States than there are men? Aren't we 51% of the population?
Yes, Mary, you're correct on both points. You're correct on the statistics, and you're correct on the 51%. We are 51% of the population. We always have been, and that's been that way pretty much throughout history. But I actually, and it may, people listening obviously can tell I'm a female, I may have a surprising point of view on this, which is, I've never been a feminist. I was a head of household because I was a single mom, and that's a whole another issue. But I raised 3 children alone, and I have 2 sons. And I'm very concerned because one of the things that the mainstream media, and actually even, I don't remember hearing about it on Newsmax, or even I'm on GB News as well, and Sky News Australia, and News 24, some other networks, and I've never heard anybody talking about this. I'm just a basic nerd, so I do a lot of reading and research, and I'd heard this rumor. Never before had I heard about the suicide of so many young white males.
Really?
And most unfortunately, my youngest son has been to 3 funerals of 3 suicides in his generation. And I will tell you, he's 25 this year. And when he graduated from a great American university with extremely good grades, having played a Division I sport and having done a lot of charitable volunteering, like literally, what more could you want from something? 19 jobs that he applied to, he looked at afterwards, months afterwards, when he didn't even get an interview with that kind of stellar resume, and he saw who was in that position. And this was at the height of the DEI initiative. And it wasn't another white male. Now, I do think as a woman, I've always wanted a fair shake. I think it's great that I have opportunities. I want the same opportunities as a male, but I don't think that any male of any color, let alone white or any color, should be discriminated against. We've had a lot of reverse discrimination recently in America, and the suicide rate, and this is what I was coming to in terms of what hasn't been reported, amongst white males is the highest in all of history. They're not getting jobs. There's been, I think, literally a war on white males for a while. And I find that scary. And also, the birth rate amongst white, in quotes, historically regular Americans is 1.3 to 1. And I always say who's the 0.3 child, but, statistically, that's how it averages out. And in the UK, it's 1.2. Now, there are other races that are in this country, and predominantly in Michigan and other places, and they breed 8 to 1. And so there is a big global displacement, and part of that has been the war on white males, and I think it's very sad, and I think the suicide rate is extremely sad, Mary.
Wow, that's insane. I did not know that. So I want to ask you, I'm sure you talk to your son about this a lot. I think that the war on men, I totally agree with it. I think that is what spurred them in the 2024 election to go with President Trump, because they were tired of being told that they're toxic. They knew that the left hated them. They knew that the left were the ones who were telling them they were toxic, and that their whiteness was the only reason they got whatever they got in life. It wasn't because they earned it. And they started to push away from that, and they went for Trump. But now a lot of them are very disillusioned with Trump and the economy, et cetera, which is insane to me because, when Biden was president, inflation was 9%. Now it's something like 3.8 or 4.2, something in that area. So half of what it was. Is that what's pushing the move towards socialism for the under 30s?
I wish I knew what is pushing the move towards socialism categorically. I don't think anybody has the exact answer, but my suspicion is, and from what I read, I think it's that we've lost our universities to not just left-leaning people, but to hardened, socialistic-minded, theoretically bound people. I've always said, actually, in theory, by the way, I think socialism's wonderful. And you know what it comes from, actually? And I can speak with this from authority. I lived in Holland. I headed the global business development of the KPMG worldwide. I was based in Amsterdam. I lived there for 3 years. And traditionally, you'd say, well, look, that's a socialistic society, and that was successful. So was Norway, so was Sweden, a lot of the Nordic countries. But Mary, this is how I always explain it to Americans. It's the Viking principle. When the Vikings were rowing across the Atlantic, if Mary's back went out, Hillary had to row harder. And you know what? I don't mind paying taxes for anybody who's handicapped, anybody who's elderly, needs my help, and any veteran that was injured. You know why? Because I'm able-bodied, able-brained, and I can do it. And that's the Viking principle. That's when socialism really is, in quotes, a good society. But, and here's the huge caveat, When I lived in Holland and I had my first son in Holland, the neighbors came and knocked and they brought me some gifts and stuff and everything. And I thanked them. They were so lovely and everything. And they said, oh, yes, we always check on what is going on. And they said, we do this when someone's back goes out because we take care of our neighbors. But if they are getting the benefits without the back problem, then we report them to the government. This is the mentality in socialistic countries. Everybody works really hard. And if somebody didn't, they were reported. Their neighbors would report them. This is the problem. When people take advantage of good people who pay their taxes and take care of other people, we're being taken advantage of in America. The British open mind and open spirit and accepting people from other countries is being taken advantage of. That's the problem. Now to your question.
Very quickly.
The liberal, left-leaning educational institution, like I said, socialism is lovely if everybody works really hard and everybody does the right thing. The problem is human nature. People take advantage, and that's what's happening. And that's where you're getting kids coming out of from these elite schools with these highfalutin principles that are lovely, but they don't work with human nature because there are always greedy people who are going to take advantage.
Absolutely.
Which they are doing in the United States and in Great Britain.
It's I have the right, but no one looks at the responsibility that comes along with that. On that note, we got to run. Hillary Fordich, thank you so much for joining me. You have a wonderful weekend, and God bless. Welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. Coming up next hour, Christian Toto will be joining us. I'll talk to him about a new movie from the Daily Wire, Perez Hilton, horrible story, and some more. I wanted to give you an update on a story that we talked about. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. I don't remember which day it was. We talked about that Ohio dad who used TikTok to lure his 11-year-old daughter's alleged rapist to the house and then shot him twice. His name is Malik Chandler, who's 31 years old, and he was charged with felony assault and using a weapon under disability after he allegedly shot 20-year-old Diego Montoya Gonzalez in his Grove City home last month. Now, here's the thing. The under disability specification carries extra prison time, because we were talking about the shooter had a higher bail than the kid who 20 years old. There's video of him allegedly raping the 11-year-old daughter, but I think that's statutory rape, right? 20 and 11. I think that's statutory rape because she can't consent. And according to prosecutors, he also had child porn on his phone. So we'll see, because I'm sure this will get some attention. So we were talking about that, but here's the thing. He could do extra prison time. It was tacked onto his charges because the dad was banned from ever carrying a firearm in Ohio because he had a felony burglary conviction from when he was a minor in 2010. If the charge wasn't added, he faced up to 12 years in prison. But now, because it's been added, it's up to 15 years. And the guy he shot was out yesterday, but wound up being rearrested on burglary claims. So what a mess. What a mess. All right, Christian Toto coming up next hour on The Rob Carson Show.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus. Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
You don't need to live with aches and pains. Visit ReliefFactor.com today.
On tomorrow. He's back with you on Monday, and I'm sure he'll have a lot to talk about with his adventures. I don't know where he is. I have no idea, but wherever he is, I'm sure he is having a great time, and he'll tell you all about it on Monday. All right, coming up later this hour, Christian Toto will be joining us, and he's a couple things he's going to talk about, but one of them plays into this topic that I want to talk to you about, and I want to talk about drivers. There's a movement in this country where drivers don't want all the tech in their car anymore. And I'll tell you, we got a new car, and it's supposedly my car, but my husband drives it all the time. And I bought the same type of vehicle years ago. I was the one who wanted it. I'm like, I really want this. And my husband was like, oh, it's really cool. And drove it all the time. So I lost that. So I let him just pick this one out. I'm like, pick the color, you pick all the bells and whistles, and he put all the stuff on it that he wanted. He did everything. So it's in my name only. What is it? My car in my name only. It's a kind of in name only. But anyway, but drivers are getting burned out with all the tech. They don't want all the tech in their car anymore. So there is a pushback now against the electronic door handles that you just touch it and the door opens. You don't know where your key is. The touch screens that have all this stuff on it, cruise control that goes with the flow of traffic. My husband uses a lot of that stuff. I do not use the cruise control that goes with the flow of traffic. I don't trust it. I rather, like, I'm that person who's not going to be using the hands-free, oh, look, it drives itself. Because if there's an accident, I'm still in trouble. I'm still the driver of the car. I don't like that. I don't. And my husband kind of agrees with me on this one. If I could get a car with the old-fashioned roll-down windows, I absolutely would get a car with the old-fashioned roll-down windows. I've seen too many videos on social media where a car goes in the water and they're trying to break the glass because the electricity goes out. Your electrical system's fried when you go in the water, and you can't get the windows down. You can't get the doors open, and because of the pressure of the water, and so they can't get out of the car and they die. And forget it. That is just a nightmare for me. I will not sleep at night if I start to think about it. And of course, so my husband has in all our cars those the window glass breakers, those things that you put it up against and it supposedly shatters the glass. I have to tell you, in an emergency, if I got to remember where that thing is in the car, I'm going to die, because I'm going to be like, oh, where is it? He told me where it is. I didn't pay attention. Where is it? And that's going to be my penalty. Dying is going to be my penalty because I didn't pay attention where the glass breaker is. So I would be super happy if we could go back to those crank windows like the good old days. And I'm a big fan of the fewer electronics there are in your car, the less there is to break and go wrong. I'm that way with a lot of stuff. Like, we don't even use our automatic. Well, we have automatic ice makers but it's inside the refrigerator. It's not at the door, and we don't have the water thing on the door. I don't talk into my remote to change the channel. I don't have Siri or Alexa. I'm big on minimalism when it comes to this. It's too much. It's overwhelming. I'm perfectly capable of hitting the buttons on my remote to turn the channel. But when it comes to cars, are you one of these people who has just had enough of all of the bells and whistles and gadgets? And cars are so expensive because of it all. And if something goes wrong, you're screwed. It's a lot of money if something goes wrong. 800-922-6680, 800-922-6680, or you can tag me in a post on X at Mary Walter Radio. And there is a movement now where people are just rejecting new cars altogether, and they're going with used models or keeping their cars longer than ever, keeping the older cars running longer than ever. The last car I got, not this one that we just bought, that's a car in my name only, was a hybrid. It's a hybrid, and I really like it. I really, really like it. It's a Honda hybrid, and you fill it up and you get like 600 miles to a tank. It's fantastic. It was from when I was commuting to Washington, D.C. and back in before the stupid times, before COVID. And it was fantastic, and I loved it. It's a great car, and you can run a Honda Accord like into 100,000 miles. They're phenomenal vehicles, and I don't use the cruise on that. There's half the stuff like the automatic parking thing. I do use the backup camera. I will say I do use the backup camera because I had an apartment down there. So you had to park in the parking garage, and the backup camera was a big help with the parking garage. It was a lifesaver. But could I live without it? Of course. I love not having all the bells and whistles. What I would have liked though, what they do now to make the cars lighter and to cut back, even though the cars are getting more expensive because of all the electronics, you don't get like a spare tire. You just get a can of like Fix-A-Flat now. There's no spare tire anymore. You just get the Fix-A-Flat stuff. So I was like, okay. So I would prefer to like have an old-fashioned spare tire because I know how to change a tire because my father made sure that his daughter knew how to change the tire. God forbid she knew how to do it. I also have AAA, but that could take hours. So are you part of these people, this movement that says, no, I don't want all the bells and whistles in my car. I want just give me the old-fashioned stuff. Like I want it to work. I want it to run. But I don't want all of the extra stuff, the touch screens, the cruise control, the this, the that. Cruise control's fine. The cruise control that automatically adjusts for the speed of traffic, you cannot do that in Jersey. It needs a Jersey setting where you can be on that guy's bumper going 85 miles an hour. And they don't allow that in that automatic cruise control. So that's one of the reasons I don't use it. 800-922-6680. Now, along those lines, and maybe this trend will reverse if people are going back to older cars. Less than 1%, fewer than 1% of new vehicles made for the U.S. market last year were stick shifts. At just 0.6%, it's an all-time low. Americans don't know how to drive stick shifts. Now, our cars are all stick shift except for one. And that's the one that the hybrid you can't get in a stick. It comes, it's because it generates gas. It wasn't like a hybrid you have to plug in. It like generates electricity by the turning of the wheels, and you have like a little thing to tell you whatever. In 1980, almost 35% of vehicles had manual transmissions. It's the popularity of a stick shift has hit multiple new lows in recent years. The average new vehicle comes with 7 gears, but our newest car, which by the way, we had to be specially made because we wanted a manual transmission. So it took longer to get, and it had to be specially made, and it costs more now. Now it costs more. I'm old enough to remember when there was a surcharge if you wanted your car in automatic. Now there's a surcharge if you want your car in manual. So there was a surcharge, so it cost more, and we had to wait longer because it had to be specially made for us because we wanted it in a stick. And I will tell you right now, it's hilarious. We remember to take the car that's the automatic to events where there's going to be valet parking because we know that Justin is not going to be able to park the car because Justin doesn't know how to drive a stick. So we always make sure to take the automatic car. Even sports cars do not have a stick shift. That to me is a travesty. Can you drive a stick? 800-922-6680. Can you drive a stick? Can your kids drive a stick? I'm curious. You can also reach out to me on X at 800-922-6. Excuse me, that's the phone number. You can reach out to me on X at Mary Walter Radio with no S in it. Your kids drive a stick. Dreaded Soulman on X says, I love my Ford Ranger 5-speed with crank windows. Yeah. Jesus is Lord says, no bells or whistles here too. Hermit Sal says, I purchased my car in 04, basic model, no fancy crap. Technology has become too technical. Is that just because we're getting older? Is that what it is? And because so many people are going back to just either keeping their car longer or going back to the older versions that don't have all the bells and whistles, are stick shifts going to make a comeback? According to Ivan Drury, director of insights at auto research site Edmunds, he said people don't want to pay attention to the road. They want to be on their phone. The more the car becomes your couch, the less you're going to want to shift your gears. And I think that's so dangerous. I just like the control that I have with a stick shift. I feel like I'm more in control. I can downshift to slow down. I just feel like I'm more in control. And maybe part of that is because back in the day, because again, I was friends with Henry Ford, but back in the day, you could, you had more control with a stick than you do with an automatic because, didn't have as many gears, and you could also get more traction on on snow and that type of stuff. So now Europe has seen a less dramatic decline. Manual transmissions dropped from 91% of car registrations in 01 to 29% in 04. And the other good thing about it, the way I see it, is that when it all goes sideways and the Civil War starts, that at least the old people will be able to hop in any vehicle and drive it. The young people are going to be stuck. They're going to be like, I have no idea what this is. That's a great thing. My husband always jokes that we could just leave the keys in the car in a bad neighborhood, quote unquote bad neighborhood, or parking somewhere. You're just like, is there any valuables showing? And you make sure not to show any valuables in the car. He goes, we could just leave the keys in it because nobody knows how to drive a stick shift, so it's never going to get stolen. He's probably right. They may try to, push it down the road, but they don't know how to drive it. So I'd never have to really worry about my car being stolen. They're going to get someone else's. Subaru made its name with manual cars. They stopped making a manual Crosstrek with the 2023 model year. They dropped that transmission from the Legacy, the Outback, and the Forester models. So only only automatic available. Volkswagen, it plans this year to ditch the last US stick shift model, the Jetta GLI. Toyota says this year's GR Supra model will be the last. So no more. So their manual shift options for Toyota goes from 4 to 3. Honda stopped production on its manual Accord with the 2021 model, leaving the stick shift as an option on just 2 Civic models. I did have a manual transmission Honda way back in the day when I was commuting, but it was not electric, wasn't a hybrid. It was a regular gas model. And BMW whittled down its lineup of manual cars to just 4 models, one of them the Z4, ending production earlier this year. I cannot see driving a sports car without a manual transmission. I just don't see it. That to me is an insult. And let's see. They also stopped making manual vehicles under the Mini brand last year. Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, said at the Australia Formula One Grand Prix earlier this year that he has no plans to make the Mustang automatic only. He said, out of our cold, dead hands, we will not have a manual Mustang. Good. Can you drive a stick? And how did you learn? Dreaded Solomon said, I learned the stick in case I needed to save a life or something. I just learned the stick because friends of mine, some guy friends that I had, were friendly with the family. Their sister lived in New York City and left her manual Vega, a Chevy Vega, automatic transmission, left it at the parents' house where they were living. So they would take it out and teach everybody how to drive a stick on it. She had no clue. She never drove it, so it was fine. J.D. Power reported in 2023 that 1.7% of car buyers opted for a manual transmission, but it reversed a decline, but then that went back. So there you go. They said Americans are less fun than we used to be when we view exclusively through our car purchases. And sad, the death of the transmission. Gen Z's killing everything. That's okay. The boomers probably said the same thing about Gen X. So there you go. If you want to jump in, 800-922-6680 or Mary Walter Radio on X. More coming up on The Rob Carson Show.
Donald Trump's election. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's the Rob Carson Show.
And welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. Just talking about, we were talking about cars. Do we have a caller here, Brian?
Yeah, Ricky in Virginia Beach.
Okay, we do have a caller here. We were talking about people wanting the old type cars and wanting to not have to deal with the electronics and this and that and everything else. And and also, can you drive a stick? I still hear YMCA. Rick in Virginia Beach. Welcome, Ricky. You're on the Rob Carson Show. Hi.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
I'm doing great. Happy Friday.
Yes, likewise.
Thank you. So go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Did you want to talk about the cars? What did you want to talk about?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I was going to say, I only drive stick when I go to, look for a used car because that's all I buy. It's got to be a stick. When my car crapped the bed last year, I ended up buying this '02 Honda Civic that I'm in right now. It's a manual.
Does it have electronic windows?
No. So
love it.
It's a DX model. It doesn't even have a cassette or an FM radio, so that's probably why I'm listening right now.
I love it.
It's got rolly windows, 5-speed. It doesn't even tell me my RPMs, only my miles per hour.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Do you prefer that? Like, do you purposely or just do it to save money, or do you purposely look for older cars that don't have all of the bells and whistles?
I like sticks. So my car went out and, I was limited. I needed to buy a car within like a week or so because I wasn't going to keep renting. And
Right.
I found this one for a price that fit for me, and it was super low miles. I bought it with 72,000 for '02. So it's like 24 years old now.
Mhm.
And it runs and it gets me to and from, and it's perfect. It's my perfect ideal car.
My key question for you, though, does it have air conditioning?
I forgot to mention. No, it does not.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough.
It is.
No AC is tough. I
Well,
remember
when
my
most
first.
your-
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say my first car didn't have air conditioning, and I actually bought it from my parents. I had to buy it from my father. It was a Chrysler Valiant. And, it was no bells and whistles, just an AM radio, the whole bit, and had no air conditioning. And as a woman, I will tell you, if you're going somewhere and you're dressed nicely and you have no air conditioning in the car, you're going to die. Your makeup is going to be melted off your face. Your hair is going to be flat as a pancake and stringy. It's terrible. Got to have AC in the car. That's my one thing I need.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's why you need a job where you stay at your location all day because you can't be driving to meetings, in the afternoon without it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, good for you. Listen, I love it. I think it's fantastic. You're smart. You're saving money, and I love the like I said, the old timey, no bells and whistles car, except for the air conditioning. I need that. Stevie, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
Take care. Yeah, that's my one thing. And I try not listen. My house that I live in right now is 150 years old. And I know if you're watching on YouTube, it's like, oh, what's wrong with your studio? Where are you? I'm actually in the attic of my house in where the servants lived back in the day because it was built before income tax. And so they had servants. And it's there's no air conditioning, there's no heat, there's no air conditioning up here. When we bought this house up until about 10 years ago, we put the air conditioning in about 10 years ago in this house. We didn't have it. We had a window. We had window air conditioners, and then we moved to those the ones that you can wheel around. And we had two. We had one in the study because our computers kept frying, and it was really expensive to keep replacing computers, and in our bedroom, and that was it. And those were the two that we had. And that was it. The rest of the house unair conditioned. So I'm used to not having, the room I'm in right now has an air conditioner that can only run during the breaks, because otherwise it makes a humming noise in the background, and that's apparently annoying. So I can only run it, and it's about 83 degrees in here right now. Kid you not. But in my car, so I'm not high maintenance when it comes to AC, but I do think in my car I need air conditioning. But everything else, I'm fine with that. All right, Christian Toto. We cannot be without Christian Toto. He joins us next here on The Rob Carson Show.
The Rob Carson Show is presented by Paramount Plus.
This isn't the end of a fight. It's the start of one. Lioness, the critically acclaimed original series from Taylor Sheridan, returns August 2nd only on Paramount Plus. It's the new season. Hidden networks, foreign operatives, and personal betrayals collide while Joe walks the line between duty and family. Don't miss Lioness, starring Zoe Saldana, Michael Kelly, with Morgan Freeman and Nicole Kidman. Now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Hi, it's Tony Marino, host of the super popular Newsmax Daily Podcast, a rundown of the day's top headlines and top highlights of Newsmax shows and interviews you may have missed, plus some sports, stock markets, and even some yucks, all packed into about 20 minutes. Search for the Newsmax Daily with me, Tony Marino, on your favorite podcast platform, and check out our entire lineup of great podcasts, including Greg Kelly, Rob Carson, and Jerry Callahan at newsmax.com/listen.
Hey guys, it's Carson. You know, when it comes to supplements, two things matter most. A, that it works, and B, that you can trust it. We hear from people every single day whose lives have changed, including mine, and we'd like you to hear a few of their stories. Chris has spent years of doing physical work, leaving his feet sore at the end of the day. After starting Relief Factor, he felt so good, he did something he'd never done before. He ran a half marathon. Now he tells all his friends about Relief Factor. I can still move furniture, I can still ride my mountain bike, I can still lift heavy weights, and Relief Factor makes all of those tasks pain-free for me. 3 weeks for just $17.76. Simply go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. We hope you'll soon be sharing your story with us too. Again, ReliefFactor.com or 800-4RELIEF.
Today, I'm authorizing a new screening program for testosterone deficiency.
T-Lo, is your T-Lo? Will you have to quit to serve? Are you fit? Hank Seth wants to know. Army, Navy, Air Force. They need to see if you have low T, then what's the next course? Man boobs, have you got man boobs? Have you a wife? Has your sex life gone down the tubes? Bear, is your chest bare? It isn't fair, you're losing hair most everywhere. Maybe you need some TRT. It's an effective hormone therapy. Delay, servicemen don't delay. You ought to care. Shrinkage down there can ruin your day. Your day. It's late. It's getting late. It would be the best to get the test, don't wait.
All right, welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. Mary Walter sitting in for Rob. Rob is back with you on Monday. Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's change gears. Get it? Get it? Oh, by the way, before I get to our next guest, don't forget my podcast is on Tuesday evening, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. It's live. It is live on Rumble, YouTube, and Getter. And then you can always watch it there, the replay. And then the audio is available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Spreaker. And tomorrow at 12:30, I will be on Newsmax with Rita Cosby. And then again, somewhere in the 6 o'clock hour, just not sure when, what time, I will also be on Newsmax on Saturday, probably around 6:30. All right. So you can catch me about 2 times tomorrow on Newsmax. Now let's get to one of my favorite people, Christian Toto. He's a Daily Wire and Blaze contributor, and he's the host of Hollywood in Toto. Great podcast. Find him on socials at Hollywood in Toto. He's here on the Newsmax hotline. Christian, what a pleasure to be able to get to speak with you. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I feel exactly the same way.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're having a good day. So we were just talking about cars, and I wanted to talk to you about it because there's something that is happening with BMW that has a lot of BMW owners not happy at all. So in certain versions of the new BMWs, they have a screen, because everybody's got this big screen now, like this touch screen display, like we're police officers, right? We got to have all the information coming in. And when they start their car up, tell everybody what happens.
I don't know.
Oh, I thought I sent this to you. I'm sorry. I've sent it to somebody else then. They when they turn their car on, they get a commercial basically for the new Spider-Man movie. It's exclusive Spider-Man animation available in many BMW vehicles. Now, it doesn't automatically play, but you can push a thing that says, play the trailer for the new Spider-Man movie. And BMW owners are mad because they're paying like over $60,000 for these cars. And they're like, why do I have commercials in my car as soon as I turn it on?
That's crazy. I mean, if I bought a used Yugo, I wouldn't want that. If I bought a BMW, I wouldn't want that. We're so inundated with commercials throughout our entire life, and I hate the fact that baseball is getting more commercialized, where it used to be the outfield wall was clean and pristine and just a green color. Now it's got ads. I mean, can't we have a break and just really need that push? I think we're good.
It reminds me of, I'm sure you've seen Idiocracy, right?
Yeah.
Of course, right? And in the future, where we're apparently living right now, we're apparently living Idiocracy right now. And everything, there were advertisements everywhere in that movie. Everything, there were advertisements all over the place in that movie. And here we are. I didn't think it was supposed to be a how-to guide. I thought it was supposed to be a warning. But yeah, here we are. Stellantis apparently does this as well, and I did not know that.
It's amazing. It's also amazing that when you go to the movies now, I almost never go to the movies in traditional format. I see screenings, and I'm lucky for that, and that's great. But oh my gosh, the commercial load, the trailer load, it's absurd. and they wonder why, until very recently, the movies have been declining. Would you want to sit through a half hour of stuff before the movie begins? Maybe a commercial, maybe a trailer too. That's perfectly fine. But it's just we're being bombarded. We need a break.
Exactly. And actually, we went to the movies a couple of weeks, probably about a month or so ago, to see Young Washington. And I go see it. I think we have told you this. We've talked about this. We have an old timey theater near us that Kevin Smith actually bought because he grew up in this town, and it went under during COVID. It was owned by a family, and he bought it and he runs it. And they were showing Young Washington. So it doesn't have like the reclining seats or anything like that, but the seats are nice. And we're smart. We sat outside and we timed it to be there, quote unquote, late, because I didn't want to watch 14,000 trailers before the movie.
Yeah, I think more people are doing that now. And listen, if it's an in-demand movie, you want to get your fanny in the seat just to make sure you get a seat. But generally speaking, yeah, you just show up late. And don't they care? The whole experience is just crazy. This should be a very simple process. You sit. We're already bombarded with the whole. Your popcorn's going to be $15, which is crazy too. But now it's until people stop going or maybe start complaining on social media, kind of letting our voices be heard. It's going to keep on keeping on, which is just distressing to me.
Well, BMW owners are complaining quite loudly. And BMW is trying to paint this as wow, this is an opportunity to see the trailer before everybody else. And they're like, I don't want the trailer. Leave me alone. Like, my car is supposed to be my sanctuary. It is where on the way, when I was working full time, 9 to 5, I would get my car on the way home and I would curse out every driver around me just to get out all of the anxiety and agita from my day of work. It's my safe space. How dare you invade my safe space? I would feel super violated.
And also, that the demographic for a BMW is usually an older person who maybe has more income, disposable income.
Yeah.
It's not exactly people rushing to see Spider-Man. That's kind of a younger person's game, I would think.
Yeah. Well, speaking of movies, I want to talk about this trailer. I think it is from Daily Wire. And it is a new movie that's very, very edgy. And I watched the trailer. It's what I have to tell you, talking about it is almost uncomfortable because we've been cowed into not addressing certain issues. And one of them is the rise of certain demographics in the United States. It's called Run, Hide, Fight, Infidels. And Infidels is what it's called. Run, Hide, Fight, Infidels. And what is this about? Tell us about this movie and how we can watch it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a sequel technically. It's kind of a spiritual sequel to a movie from a few years ago. But the new film is set on a college campus, and there's a growing pro-Palestinian movement there. And then I guess the plot has some radical Islamists, some real deal types coming to the school, taking over and establishing a Sharia law type of situation. Now, it sounds far-fetched in a way, and it's pointing to some real issues in our culture: anti-Semitism, radicalism on campuses, the rise of radical Islam and the acceptance of it in certain quarters. So it deals with issues in a way that's genre-based. This is a shoot 'em up. Now, all of that is fine, and all of that is really necessary because that's part of the culture, and we can't ignore it. But like you said, I too feel a little weird talking about it because we have been sort of told we can't. And I think this kind of movie is saying, no, we can and we should. And it's okay to make radical Islam types the bad guys, because they are in real life the bad guys, not people who are peace-loving Muslims. We know that. We have to go to the dance. But people who subscribe to a very radical, violent, dangerous strain of this ideology, they should be villains on TV and in movies, and they're not. And we know why they're not.
Right. And there's a difference, again, putting out the difference that we feel we have to put out there between Islamists and peace-loving Muslims. The difference there, right? It looks very interesting. And I know, as I said, it's put out by Daily Wire. And I want to ask you about that because Daily Wire, Netflix, Apple, Angel Networks, there seems to be a lot of competition to Hollywood right now. And is Hollywood dying and these independent groups winning?
I think people have been saying Hollywood's been dying for a long, long time. The industry is struggling for sure. LA production is down. It's a whole complicated mess. It's self-inflicted. But listen, the movies have come back in a pretty big way this year. So I think that's a good sign for Hollywood. But I also think there's room, there's technological advances that are letting other platforms tell stories. That's what the Daily Wire is doing. They're not spending $50, $100 million in this film. I think this might be about $5 million or so, give or take. think that's what I read. So it's basically these new platforms are challenging Hollywood, saying, hey, if you don't tell these stories, we will. And that's a threat in and of itself because they're going to siphon off some viewers for sure.
Oh, 100%. We had, and we'll take a quick break and come back, but we had joined Angel Network, my husband and I, because I said, they had some really great movies that I really wanted to see. But we quickly realized we don't have the time to watch movies. And we did it for 1 year, and I think we watched 2 movies. I said, well, this just isn't worth it. And we said, well, let's just hope that if the movie's really good, it comes to the big screen. And I believe Young Washington was an Angel production.
Yep.
So hopefully, I'm sorry?
Okay, I was saying it's a very good one. And also, I hope we see more of that. And I think that Angel Studios is upping their game movie by movie. And that's a great thing because they're telling, again, stories that are not being told elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the stories they tell are things that you could take the kids to as a family. And when was the last time Hollywood put out a family movie that didn't have transgender this and gay that, and the traditional character that was a girl is now a boy, that didn't have a social, some kind of social message to it. And I think people are tired of that. All right, we've got more coming up. Don't go anywhere. More with Christian Toto here on The Rob Carson Show.
Okay.
Fasten your seatbelt, Deep State. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. It's the Rob Carson Show.
Welcome back to the Rob Carson Show. Mary Walsh in for Rob. He's back with you on Monday on the Newsmax hotline right now. It is Christian Toto, because it wouldn't be Friday without him. He's with the Daily Wire and the Blaze. He's a contributor at both. He is also the host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast, and you can find him on socials at Hollywood in Toto. What a perfect last name to have to do stories about Hollywood. Every time I hear this, I always think he is so like he's doing what God made him to do. It's absolutely perfect. Christian, we were talking about movies, obviously, since you're the guest. Anything good that we should want to see coming up? I don't go to the movies that often, but every now and then there's a really good one that I want to see. Anything good coming in the hopper that you know of?
You know, it's interesting. This is going to be a little bit of a weird time of the year because the big guns have already fired for the summer. So between now and maybe early September, it's going to be a little bit of rough sledding, honestly. Okay. You don't have the high-level movies coming out, maybe some smaller films as well. And just give you a quick example, this weekend we've got Super Troopers 3. And listen, I met the guys at Broken Lizard. They're a lot of fun. I'm not a huge fan of these movies, but they have a cult following. So people want to if people love the first two movies, I think they'll enjoy the third one. Also, if you love really disgusting R-rated horror movies, there's Ice Cream Man that's coming out this weekend. It is really over the top with its practical effects and gore. Again, if that's your cup of tea, go for it. And the one, I guess, the palate cleanser there, and I haven't seen this one yet, it's called One Night Only. It's a rom-com. It's being described as The Purge, but with sex where you can only have sex one night a year or something akin to that. So the reviews aren't great. It's got 45% of Rotten Tomatoes. So I don't know how your mileage may vary. We've got Callum Turner and Monica Barbaro of the stars here. Good, young, attractive people. So that's certainly never a bad thing with rom-coms. But I don't know. Hollywood and rom-coms, it's not exactly a great mix of late. They haven't made any great ones in a while.
No, they don't. You know why? Because a lot of times the really good comedies, whether they're romantic comedies or comedies, period, require a little bit of breaking the rules, pushing the edge of the envelope, and a lot of political incorrectness. And that's the problem.
And listen, I like formula. You want the guy to meet the girl and the girl to fall in love with the boy and then live happily ever after. But sometimes the formula can be just almost like a straitjacket. I want to recommend one movie from a couple of years ago that I really liked. It's called I Want You Back. I believe it was a Prime Video original with Charlie Day and Jenny Slate. It's a very charming film. It kind of took me by surprise. Definitely has a bit of a gimmick edge to it and a little bit of unconventional attitude, but I really thought it worked in that genre. So if you haven't seen that one, maybe check that out. But there's a lot of really staid rom-coms of late, or they're so wacky and crazy, like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I kind of check out right away.
Okay. Now, do you think that they could make any of the John Waters movies today, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink? They couldn't even make those today, right? Breakfast Club?
They're deemed problematic, by the way.
Are they really?
Rather funny. Listen, there are a couple of scenes in this that don't work or maybe feel a little dated, but they've got good hearts, and they really do identify what it means to be young, to be an adolescent, to have that angst, to have those questions about growing up and life and love. And those things just don't age. They are eternal. And it's one of the reasons why we still love those movies. So anyone who kind of wants to pick on them, say, oh, you can't say that, you can't do that, it makes me a little bit grumpy. But you're right. There are things that they wouldn't do. And certainly there's no one of that caliber making movies today for teens, because we could use that for sure.
Yeah, we could. But I think a lot of people are afraid. Lastly, speaking of entertainment, it's supposed to be news, but it's entertainment. Let's talk about The View, shall we? So all these rumors about a 30th anniversary celebration for their next season, which will be the 30th. Rosie O'Donnell was the first one who came out and said, I'm back, and she's making this all about her and Donald Trump. And apparently, though, they don't want Meghan McCain back because they called her a pain in the tuchus. Supposedly the staff didn't like her either. She was apparently very hard to deal with, but according to her, they were the ones who were very hard to deal with, and she slammed them in her memoirs. She's, and I think The View is just really known for having a toxic work environment. So are we going to see everybody brought back? Do you have any inside scoops? You know anything about this?
Rosie O'Donnell announced that, and then the show basically had a no comment, or we can't confirm, or I think even Rosie O'Donnell's camp, and it's kind of sad that she has a camp at this point, but I think they said they couldn't confirm that. So we'll have to wait and see. Listen, they should bring her. Listen, they should bring her back full time, because the show in her absence has gone full conspiracy, full crazy, full tinfoil hat. And that's exactly who she is today. So why not just bring her back? I mean, she knelt down and she'd probably be gone in a couple of months. And, she was behind the scenes. Sounds like there's a lot of drama with her going on because she was on the show twice and she left twice. So the bottom line is it's a very bad show. I don't know anyone who actually watches it and really believes it or trusts it or thinks it's good information. If you want to hate watch it, I get that because it is so crazy, but it's just a very silly, immature show. And ABC should be ashamed of itself for airing it, honestly. It's just that what they share on the air almost every day is not tethered to any sort of reality or facts. And that's a problem. It's allegedly a news show. That's what they're saying. And it's nothing close.
No, it is not. And I used to watch it on the Nordic Track back in the day when even Barbara Walters was on it because I actually thought it was a good show then. But when Barbara Walters left, though, it was between do I watch The View or do I watch Maury when I'm working out? Because it was potato at that point, right? They just spout feelings as quote unquote facts and make a bunch of racist comments and call it television and get paid a ridiculous amount of money for it. So, well, I got to tell you, if there's if there's a review, Christian, I am watching the hell out of that. So, just saying. I would love to see Rosie on with Meghan McCain, but what they'll probably do is put all the old crews, each iteration back together again on different days. So we'll see. Christian Toto, thank you so much. Always a pleasure when I get to speak with you. You have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks so much. All right, we're not done. A little bit more, and then we're done with the Rob Carson Show. And you are free to go into your weekend. I'm Mary Walter. You're listening to the Rob Carson Show. Quote, my team and I have carefully examined the WNBA's eligibility criteria and governing framework surrounding self-identification and inclusion. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA draft in April of 2027. This is what happens. Eventually, all of this stuff, all of these really woke institutions eventually wind up just collapsing in on themselves, right? They're just collapsing in on themselves because their policies and everything that they want to do is unsustainable. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if more. I wonder how many other NBA players who are retired just say, "Hey, I'm in too." Charles Barkley, I'm in. Be interesting to see. All right, Rob is back with you on Monday. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you so much, and thank you to you for letting me sit in the seat. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and God bless.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.